Hi, everybody. Welcome to Friday's Focus on Finances. My name is Jamie Fleming, and today we're going to talk about a message I send to as many small business owners as possible, and that is don't neglect personal finances. Successful small business owners tend to be smart, hardworking, tenacious, and highly focused individuals, and they have to be. According to a Dun& Bradstreet study, businesses with fewer than 20 employees only have a 9% chance of surviving a decade, less than 10%, and that's just so incredible. Even those who are successful in business may fail when it comes to their own finances. Too often, these same talented entrepreneurs concentrate so intensely on their business that they neglect their personal financial planning in the process. Take the case of our client, husband and wife owners of an extremely profitable seasonal business. When we first started working with them, they had built a very profitable company that earns millions in revenues. They worked 24/7 on the business, constantly upgrading their facility, traveling the world to buy inventory, always keeping their eye on the ball. Yet, they had not saved any money outside of the business. Their benefits package was modest, and they had little invested in their kids' college accounts and even their own retirement accounts. Today, that same couple has pulled out more than $1 million from the business and placed it in a well-diversified portfolio. They have opened a profit-sharing plan for the company, of which 85% of the 500,000 already invested is actually earmarked for them. They get a nice tax deduction for their business and a nice healthy contribution to their own retirement savings. And they've purchased appropriate life and disability insurance. They have 529 plans for their children's colleges, and they're still continuing to invest in the business and its growth. I wish I can say their story is unique, but I hear this story and I see the same scenario in probably 80% of small business owners that I come across. In fact, such a rosy financial outlook as we've just demonstrated is actually possible for many small business owners if they're prepared to make a few changes. So let's look at common mistakes successful entrepreneurs make that may impede their financial future and what can be done to help turn things around. The first mistake is they do not implement proper benefits such as health, life, and disability insurance and retirement plans. This is unfortunately befalls too many small business owners. When one begins a business, benefits are often pretty low on the priority list. Costs may be prohibitive. As time passes, the question of purchasing proper benefits is often not revisited, even if the business has now grown and added employees, so it can take advantage of significant group discounts for benefits. In the case of retirement planning, there are so many options available for small business owners, including those with built-in flexibility that take into consideration fluctuations in annual cash flow. These need to be taken care of as soon as possible. Like you and other small business owners, I don't have necessarily a constant revenue every month. In other words, I have a minimum base, but some months are very healthy in revenues. Others might be very lean. So there are ways to put in proper retirement planning vehicles to accommodate cash flows that are flexible. The next mistake is they do not properly provide for their families should the unexpected occur. We saw this in the pandemic over the last year. Many small business owners scrimp on things like life or disability insurance, rationalizing that my business is worth millions of dollars. If I die, my family will be taken care of once the business is sold. What they fail to consider is that without them, the business is likely to be worth far less than it is with their involvement. How much life insurance is enough? There's no hard and fast rule or formula. Not all people who earn, say, 200,000 a year require the same amount of life insurance. Rather, it depends on one's stage in life in terms of ongoing cash flow needs and financial obligations. If you're a single person making 200,000 with no dependents, your need for life insurance might be very low compared to a family of five, in which they depend primarily on your earnings for the year. If you have one child or five child, the financial obligations if something were to happen to you to still fund their college may be greater. So we take all those pieces of the puzzle into consideration to see what is appropriate, what should you have in place. And the other thing to remember is that if you physically have to be a part of your business's success and you don't have disability insurance in place, there is a high danger of that business folding if you're not able to take on the same responsibilities if something were to happen to you. We're not just talking about disabilities that people think of because they think, oh, I'm healthy. I feel pretty confident that I'll be able to do what I'm doing for a long time. But what if you're in a car accident? Has nothing to do with your health. What if you are in the hospital for several months recuperating? What if you are affected by COVID and you are in the hospital on a respirator? All these things we saw over the last year, and many people were ill prepared, especially our small business owners, to make sure that you have all the things in place for the company to continue to work on your behalf, even if you're not able to participate. The next mistake is that they don't save outside of the business. We talk about diversification in investments, but we're not just talking about that. We're talking about any place your money is being put. So if all your money is going into the business, you are breaking the diversification rule, because if something happens for, again, whatever reason, a lot of restaurant owners went out of business because all their money was put in the business and they didn't have anything to maintain their own personal financial situation once the revenue stopped coming in. So small business owners have a tendency to become so focused on their business, pouring money into it so it can grow and prosper, that they fail to save for their future. They may enjoy a very upscale lifestyle while the business is alive and doing well, but end up with nothing to show for it if the business fails or falls short. This is why some small business owners end up working well into their 70s and even 80s. They never drew sufficient cash out and have no choice but to continue working. To prevent this from happening, money needs to be invested regularly during profitable times to fund retirement plans and invest in a diversified portfolio, which could be stocks, it could be real estate, but diversifying outside the business. This does not mean sucking the business dry, but rather not putting all one's eggs into a single basket. We've heard this phrase, right? And that single basket would be the business. This way, even if the business ends, the owner can still enjoy a comfortable retirement. Let's look at a quick example of another young entrepreneur client of ours. We just started working together, and his major financial goal is to create income streams from his variety of investments. So later in life, he's working because he still enjoys it, not because he has to. So right away, we looked at funding a retirement plan at 25% of his income, which is roughly 40,000 based on his last year's income of 160,000. He did well last year, but also paid a lot in taxes. So contributing to his retirement plan as he earns his commissions allows him to save and invest more during the months he brings in large amounts of revenue, and less or nothing at all in the months that are lean or even with zero revenue. So let me share why it's important to begin now and as early as possible. And we talk about this all the time with my individual clients and my business owners. This is the pay yourself concept, which means saving and investing. So this particular entrepreneur, I've known him for many years, and it's a pleasure to be working with him. He's actually a second generation. I've been working with his father for decades now. And he got to this place where he did very well last year, and then he had to pay a big tax bill because there wasn't tax planning throughout the year with him. So we started working. He's 34 years old, and we looked at doing this one simple thing. If he just took 25% of his income, and let's just make the numbers easy, basing it on last year's income of 160, that's 40,000 a year. If he did that every year until age 60, and he's conservative, so we only estimated 5% return, he will amass more than $2.1 million. In addition to that, he's going to save over $250,000 in taxes with just this one little hack. So not only are we saving him taxes on the business, but we're transferring wealth from his business, getting him a tax deduction there, transferring his wealth to the personal side without increasing his taxable exposure. So this is a way we work with small businesses all the time, especially my solo entrepreneurs. I want to share with you why it's so important. We just said if he did this every single year to age 60, he's going to have over $2.1 million without even doing anything fancy. This is just this one piece of the puzzle starting at age 34. If he waits to age 44 at the same savings rate, he'll have about 993,000 saved, which is more than $1 million less than if he starts now, which he's going to do. And what we look at is what people have amassed up to this point, especially our small business owners, right? So age 34, he'll amass over $2 million. If he waits 10 years to age 44, he'll amass just under $1 million, which is more than $1 million less. And if he's waits and does what the majority of small business owners do and maybe not start saving until age 54, then by age 60, he'll only have 285,000 saved for retirement. And that's not enough to stop working to maintain his lifestyle during his retirement years. So with all that said, keep in mind the average retirement account balances for the age group, age 50 to 59, is roughly only $160,000 saved for retirement. This is why business owners end up working much longer than they anticipated or even wanted. You must start as early as possible, but it's never too late to start. So if you haven't started and you're in those later groups, as am I, then you just have to get on a plan and start taking advantage of what's available to you. The next mistake is that the small business owner does not establish business credit as soon as possible or use business loans rather than personal credit. Many fail to establish proper financing, not only during the very beginning, when personal credit may be the only option, but also during the growing stages of the business. Without proper financing, businesses often cannot grow unless owners sink their own money into it, which can inhibit their ability to invest properly in their personal financial future. The recommendation here is to acquire a minimum line of credit early on in the business's name and to increase it over time to show banks and other institutions that the business is a good credit risk, which in turn will help sustain business growth. I did this early on when I didn't even need funds, just to establish that I had a loan and credit history for my business and in my business name. And over the years, that has steadily increased. You also start a business banking relationship this way with your bank. So when you are in need, then you have somebody that goes to, knows your history, knows your credit worthiness as a business, and help you strategize along with your business growth. The next big mistake that business owners do is they don't establish a viable succession plan or exit strategy. Many small business owners work very hard to build a successful enterprise, and shortly before they plan to retire, they suddenly wonder, what am I going to do with my business? Usually by then, though, it's a little too late and the business can literally die in this process. As a result, while the company may have sustained the owner's lifestyle for many years, it suddenly has no value. A plan needs to be put in place 5 to 7 years prior to retirement. It all starts with looking at where the owner wants the business to go, along with having the value of the business assessed. Is there a family member to take over the business? Are there key employees? What about selling the business to a competitor? If the decision is made to pass the business on to a child, should it be sold or gifted? There may not be any choice if the sale is necessary to fund retirement, though. Finding someone who's willing to take over the business is also quite different from someone who is capable of running the business. We've seen too many businesses run into the ground by the next generation of ownership. The consequences can be catastrophic, costing the owner his or her retirement stream of income. The core problem is that too often business owners live only for today with no thought of tomorrow. They need to understand that running a successful business is just the first hurdle to achieving financial security. They still need to keep their eyes focused on the finish line. And believe me, as an entrepreneur myself, I understand these challenges and face those myself as well. I am passionate about finding solutions for business owners to ensure successful financial future to match their successful businesses. So if you would like to know more information on how to implement one or more of these financial strategies, connect with us for a complimentary consultation. Ask for help, see where you can get started. I hope this was helpful. It's enjoyable to spend another Friday's Focus on Finances with you. Thank you, everybody, and I will see you next week for Friday's Focus on Finances. Happy Friday.